Good day, everyone. So we're now going to talk about lesson number 1 and lesson number 2 for finals. Your lesson number 3 and lesson number 4 is already uploaded on the YouTube videos and already sent that on our GC or group chat. So for lesson number 3, we'll be talking about gymnastics, or lesson number 1 for gymnastics and lesson number 2 for floor exercise. These two activities or these two lessons also have their connection when it comes to the skills or performance that is going to execute or to perform with various skills. So first, let's take up first your introduction to gymnastics. First up, we have here is your definition. For gymnastics, this is literally translated in Greek for gymnastics. That means to exercise naked. So back before in the history of gymnastics, it doesn't require you to have your props or costume when you're going to perform these specific events. So the main objectives or in line with this activity is to see or to show your body alignment from your head down to your legs. And most of the gymnastics floor skills stance or skills involves shape shifting. Okay, you can also form into a just like a tree. You can also form just like a ball. So different skills or different floor skills stance, including the standing position. We also have the skills in sitting position. We also have the kneeling position and the tummy back and inverted position. And for the aerial skills, which involves all the jumps, that also requires in the cheer dance, which is on the lesson number 4. So, however, most people recognize gymnastics as physically demanding sport filled with intricate tricks and impressive stunts performed with style and grace by both genders. Though men and women have the chance to showcase several skills during performances, women's and men's gymnastics are composed of several different events, and each event gives men and women the chance to demonstrate their athleticism, precision, flexibility, and the strength. In terms of the gymnastics, it was originally designed only for women. But in years goes by, meron na ring inclusion ng men towards this type of event. So in other forms of sports, mas nauna ang mga lalaki. They were the first or um, it was only intended for men. Pero pagdating sa gymnastics, this are originally intended for women. Okay. Next, also on your gymnastics, this is a demonstration of skills requiring strength, flexibility, and agility during performances of several things and stands. So later on, we'll be talking about acrobatic gymnastics. We also have aerobic gymnastics, which is also an additional activity or skills that was added into the main theme of gymnastics. So, however, gymnastics was not always known as such. The sport actually evolved greatly from its origins in Greece, in which it was only a men's sport. During this time, gymnastic focused on strength building exercises such as the wrestling, throwing, jumping, swimming, and running to physically prepare men for war. And after Greece, it was defeated by the Romans. It later evolved in the 1700s and 1800s to include 30 pieces of apparatus and was brought to the United States. So, in terms of the um, purpose of doing gymnastic exercises or strength building exercises, this was only intended for war, which is their main reason or main activity before in terms of the physical exercises. So most likely sa Spartans, sa Greece, sa Athens, those are the states or those are the places wherein especially for Greece. Okay, that would be the place wherein it was the first Olympic Games held in 776 BC, wherein we have the athletic events or what we call your track and field events, yung mga tumatakbo sa oval, yung mga ah, nagbabato ng mga javelin throw, ng shot put, ng hammer throw, ng discus throw, even for the jumping events. For the long jump, the triple jump, that was the first established or original sports that was discovered in the earliest year of 776 BC. Okay, let's take first your women's gymnastics. So for women's gymnastic, this composed of four events. Number one is your vault, the floor exercise, the balance beam, and then even bars. Among these four activities or four events, ang pinakamahirap dito, which is only intended for women's event, we have here is um the what you call this one, the balance beam. So the balance beam have a uh okay. So the balance beam have a narrow line wherein ang kasya lang sa isang beam ay isang paa mo. So, hindi puwedeng magkasabay na iapak ang both of your feet when you're, going to talk about your balance beam. So, in terms of the grace, agility, coordination, and strength of the gymnast, it was also, covered or showed or portrayed in the terms of the four events. The balance beam perhaps the most challenging event. Sabi ko kanina, it involves the use of balance and agility while performing acrobatic and dance movements of 4 inches wide beam. So ganun lang siya ka nipis o ganun lang siya kapal. In that 4 inches, okay, yung wide ng beam natin o yung kapal ng beam natin, kasyang-kasya lang ang isang paa natin. And when you're going to um, set also your left foot, even your right foot into the balance beam, hindi siya kasya. Kailangan kasi when it comes to the balance beam, pa-vertical yung ating position. Hindi pwede ang both of your feet na pumatong dun sa mismong beam. The vault requires great strength as gymnasts explode of the vault to perform flips in the air. While then even bars require coordination in order to swing from bar to bar while switching hands and using various transitions. So in terms of the beam, para mas madali tayo, we're going to have the first pictures here, which is your beam. So this is the image of the balance beam. So it stands 1.25 meter above the mat, and the gymnast execute the skills that require balance, such as leaps, flips, and handstands on a 10 centimeter wide apparatus. So as you have noticed, in terms of the measurement, from the length itself of the balance beam, kung gaano siya kahaba, it includes here a 5 meter or 16 feet and 5 inches of its length. And for its width o yung kapal ng beam, it's 10 centimeter or 4 inches. And then we also have here that 1.2 meter or 3 feet and 11 inches in terms of the height of the beam from the floor. So you need to execute more of the skills. Hindi nang pwedeng ang gamitin mo lang dyan ay ang mga um, walking toes o kaya yung mga aerial skills natin. Kailangan din you need to execute especially one leg balance, pwede rin ang cartwheel in order for you to have a good presentation or good execution of the skills from both of the end, going to the middle of the beam and then going to um, also with the other end of the beam. Okay, next part. After your so tapos na tayo dito for women's. Let's go with the men's gymnastics. So for men's gymnastic, we also have here the floor exercise, the pommel horse, the steel rings, the high bar, the parallel bars, and the vault. So we have 6 events under for men. So each event requires high levels of power and control. If we were going to compare men's and women's gymnastics when it comes to the skills or to the execution of the skills, sa women's kasi, it's more of the grace, okay? Mas graceful sila, they are more flexible compared with men. Okay, yun ang features ng mga babae. Pagdating naman sa men's gymnastic, ang features ng mga lalaki ay they more of the power of, and strength. So, mas malakas ang core nila. Pag sinabing core, sa part ng abdominal muscle when it comes to gymnastic. Hindi sila ganoon ka-graceful katulad ng mga babae. But, ang parang main features naman ng mga lalaki, it's more of the power and strength. Kaya mas malakas sila physically with or compared with women. Next, on the rhythmic gymnastic and tumblings. So when we are talking about rhythmic gymnastic and tumblings, this is in a combination of the word music. So in terms of the word rhythm, kailangan may music accompaniment, is either instrumental man yan or a lyrical instrument. So this one is performed also by both genders for men and women. Pero in terms of the floor exercise na tinatawag natin, sa floor exercise kasi ng lalaki sa babae, ginagamitan siya ng music or ng musical accompaniment. And they also use the different equipment such as the rope, the ribbon, ayan pinaka-common natin, nakikita natin sa harap ng logo ng Milo before. Okay, ano pa? They also have the ball, may bola din tayo, and we also have the clubs. And in terms of the men's rhythmic gymnastics or floor exercises, I should say, in terms of the men's floor exercise, wala silang ginagamit na any apparatus in terms of their execution of the skills or into their performances. So that would be the difference between the men and women in terms of the floor exercise. Okay, dito na tayo para mas madali. Okay, so we're done with the balance beam. Now let's go with your uneven bars. For uneven bars, this our apparatus consists of two wooden bars held together by an adjustable metal frame. The gymnasts adjust the bars according to their height and preference, and typically raising the high bar about 2.4 meter and the low bar to 1.6 meter above the mat and spacing them about 1.8 meter apart. So in terms of the uneven bars, literal na hindi sila pantay because the word uneven. So we have here the first bar na may connected also with the post into the mattress. So in terms of this one, you need to execute first. It's either depende kung anong routine mo, kung mauuna ba sa low bar o mas mauna sa high bar. But you need also to execute both of the low and high bar in order for you na um, makapag-perform, especially in terms of the crowd. So, yan yung mga factors kung bakit hindi masyadong ma-execute na mabuti ng isang performer ang kanyang skills o yung kanyang task when it comes to the actual performance kasi hindi um, pareho yung kanyang environment when it comes to a practice and it comes to performances or into a actual performance. So most likely nagkakaroon ng pagkabigla yung manlalaro o yung player natin when it comes to that situation. Next is the floor exercise. Sabi ko kanina, sa floor exercise natin, kasari din ang lalaki at babae. But the floor exercise for men, wala silang ginagamit na musical accompaniment at wala din silang ginagamit na props. Sa babae, may ginagamit tayong mga props. Mamaya, I'm going to show you some pictures of that props or their costumes also. And for women's, they also use a musical accompaniment. It's either lyrical man yan or instrumental. Now let's go with the vault apparatus. For the vault apparatus, we have here a long runway. Pero sa runway natin, okay lang kahit hindi mo i-consume yung ganong kahaba ng runway natin. Pag sinabing runway, yun yung tinatakbuhan natin para magkaroon tayo ng velo when it comes to the execution onto the springboard. So this is the springboard, yung nasa baba, color blue. Dito dapat ay aapak yung paa. So this will also help you na makatalon dito sa mismong table natin or what we call your vault. So on this right side of your screen or an image, this is the exact or same image that was used also before nung bagong-bago pa mga 90s o kaya 80s ang gymnastics. Let's go with the men's artistic gymnastics. So first up that we have here is parallel bars. If you know Carlos Yulo, he is also performing or performed this one in terms of the SEA Games. I think that's what's years in 2018 or 2019. So the parallel bars are also consist of two parallel wooden bars supported by a metal frame, and the gymnast utilize the bars to perform various swinging and balancing skills. Kung masyadong maliit o masyadong kulang sa height yung ating gymnast, there would also some sorts of people parang spotter, tinatawag natin sa cheer dance na sila yung nagli-lift o sila yung nag-aangat nung mismong, player natin para makahawak dun sa mismong parallel bars. When it comes to, the world of gymnast, wala masyado tayong gymnast na players or dancers na matatangkad, okay? When it comes to gymnastic kasi, we need to consider two factors. Number one is the gender. So, gender kasi, mas angat ang mga babae because they are more flexible and gymnastics is more of the flexibility side rather than dun sa mga hindi flexible na sports katulad ng basketball, mga ganyan, football. Other factors is your um, the height. Yung height kasi, when it comes to the flexibility of a 4, example, 4 feet, tapos yung isa nasa 6 flat or 6 feet. Mas flexible ang mga maliliit, okay? And that would be such a features of the small one o yung mga hindi masyadong biniyayaan ng tangkad compared dun sa mga matatangkad. So, in terms of the flexibility side, mas flexible sila. Mas maliksi sila compared with mas matangkad. Pero depende din yan for some factors including heredity o sa genes ninyo. Kung yung lolo at lola nyo, even your parents are into gymnast and you have a good height, for example, you have 5'9" o kaya 6 flat of the height, pero you can still perform gymnastic. And the flexibility level is same with the flexibility level na meron din sa mga maliliit o sa mga 4 flat o mga 5 feet na na tao. So, depende rin yan kung may history kayo ng you're flexible even though that you have um, 6 feet or 6 flat of your height in terms of your hereditary or even for the genes itself. So, case-to-case basis tayo dito. Next, on the high bar. So, the high bar, parehas siya nung ating uneven bars for women. The only difference is that, ito, iisa lang ito sa may mismong high bar. So the high bar or single bar standing for 2.75 meter above the ground on a solid metal structure and a gymnast swing on the bar performing various grip and releases and regrips. This also performed before in terms of Carlos Yulo, our Olympic gold medalist for SEA Games in 2018. Next one that we have here is your skill rings. So the skill rings hang from flexible straps for 50 centimeter apart and 2.75 meter above the mat. So this picture also portrays or reflects the picture of Carlos Yulo and the gymnast grasps the steady rings to perform skills that require body stillness and core strength. So in terms of this one, dahil di naman masyadong matigas or fixed structure yung ating strap katulad nung bars natin na bakal, kailangan mong maging stiff or yung tinatawag nating body stillness na kung saan hindi pwedeng uuga-uga o hindi pwedeng shaky yung movements natin dito when it comes to the performance kasi nga rope lang yung ginagamit natin or it's form of strap. And then the core strength also involves yung ating abdominal muscle which is also includes in terms of the preparation, yung mga exercises o yung mga activities before yung performance natin or during your practices that would help you in terms of your performance. Also with the wall apparatus, we're also done with this for women. Okay. Kung sa babae, ang pinakamahirap sa kanila ay yung balance beam, sa lalaki naman ay ang pommel horse. It is because, as you have noticed, um, parehas lang sila ng image ng ating balance beam. So, okay, balikan natin si balance beam. Okay, this one is the balance beam. 5 meter siya, yung kanyang haba. And then yung kanyang kapal is 4 inches or 10 centimeter. While on the pommel horse, parehas lang silang parang beam yung image. The only difference that meron siyang handle at mas maliit o mas maiksi ito compared with the balance beam for women. So it includes here 2 handles which we call the pommel. Ang tawag sa mga hawakan nito ay pommel. That's why they call it as pommel horse. In order to perform this type of skills or these types of apparatus, kailangan mong i-execute lahat ng movements from this one handle down to the other handle na gamit lang yung kamay. Hindi pwedeng umapak yung paa mo dito sa beam mismo. Pero you can also use your hands na um, humatong o humawak dito sa surface ng beam natin. But most of the time, kaya 80% or 90% of the time, mostly ginagamit ang handle to use the execution or to portray the skills na kailangan mong gawin. And mahirap siya kasi nga ganun siya ka it's also 10 centimeter or 4 inches of the uh, width o yung kanyang kapal. And you need also to have the development of the core and your abdominal muscle when it comes to the pommel horse. Kasi ang balance ng katawan ay nandan sa may part ng core, sa part ng chan. Let's go with women's rhythmic gymnastics. Okay, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na pagdating sa floor exercise or rhythmic gymnastics, babae lang ang may karapatan or they only have the rights to use the equipments and this is not intended for men. The first part that we have here is the ball. So the ball is made of rubber or plastic. This 18 to 20 centimeter in diameter and weighs at least 400 grams. Next is the hoop. So the hoop is made of wood or plastic. It must have an inner diameter of 80 to 90 centimeter and a minimum weight of 300 grams. Dito sa part ng ball natin, it's okay to use yung mga pupunta sa mga baryo-baryo. If you know what I'm saying, yung mga 20-20, pwede na rin yun ang gamitin nyo when it comes to the ball. In terms of the hoop, ang mas maganda ditong gamitin ay yung ratan. Okay? Yung gawa talaga sa kahoy. But when you're using yung plastic, yung iba't ibang kulay na nagkakalagas-lagas, kailangan yung lagyan ng tape para hindi masyadong o hindi sila magkakahiwalay-hiwalay. Next is the rope. The rope is made of hemp and is knotted at each end, and the height of the gymnast determines the length of the rope. Sa rope natin, the difference between the rope and the ribbon, pagdating sa rope, hindi fix yung haba ng ating rope. Kung gaano ka katangkad, ganun din dapat kahaba yung tali na gagamitin mo in terms of the rope. But it comes to the ribbon, fix yung length o fix dapat yung haba na gagamitin mo, which is a 7 meter. So kahit gaano ka pa kaliit o gaano ka pa katangkad, you need to follow the designated or fixed length na ginagamit sa mismong ribbon natin, which is 7 meter. Next is the clubs. So yung clubs, hindi siya masyadong popular among the events or among the equipments na ginagamit sa floor exercise or women's rhythmic gymnastics. It is because ito yung pinakamahirap na equipments na pwedeng gamitin when it comes to rhythmic gymnastics. Kasi ang kailangan mo ditong makuha, pag if you have noticed some of the videos na kailangan i-itcha sila, yung mga equipments natin, for example, sa bola, kailangan mong i-itcha, tapos kailangan masalo. Kung example, you are into a group or you into a trio, kailangan may pagpapasa din ng iba't ibang equipments. So in terms of the clubs, kailangan mong unang mahawakan yung handle and not the top of the clubs. Kasi ang nangyari niyan, dahil mas mabigat itong top ng clubs natin, una siyang bumabagsak. So most likely, kailangan yung handle lang una mong mahawakan and not the top of the clubs. Ito, yung taas niya. We're done with the ribbon. Okay. Next one is the women's and men's trampoline equipment. Sa men's and women's trampoline equipment, this is a dimensions of a 5.05 meter long and 2.91 meter wide and 155 meter in height. This spring bed ay ginagamit din sa mga competition. Example for yung sa jumps. That jumps have also a different event na ginagawa rin. So, just like a bouncing trampoline na kung saan they need to execute more of the skills sa mismong ere. O ang tinatawag natin doon, ang pinaka-basic na tawag natin doon ay aerial skills. Okay, so that's the first part of lesson number 1 for finals.